All right, we're working on the Ranchero here. Well, you may notice that there are possibly some slight continuity issues. This is not Bonanza, so you're gonna have problems with that. And we have a lot of work to do ahead of us on this thing. Obviously, we're going to be moving on it after we get through with our April 23rd, 2022 open house from 2 to 5. Description below will be an address. If you're in the CSRA, if you're in the Aiken Augusta area, you can pop by. But call me or write to me first because I want to know. Because I got like 60 spots for you. So there you go. Anyway, we're going to start working right now.
Restoration of a classic Ford is a journey of discovery. Let Autocrafters help you with yours. We offer quality parts for Falcon, Fairlane, F-Series, Galaxy, Maverick, and Pinto. Contact us today.
I've been told by a good friend of mine, Robert McCartney, that anything is a tool in bodywork. If you want to make it into a bodyworking tool, you can do that. And that's kind of what I'm going to be doing here. Now, just a minute ago, we showed you us putting the panel in, and we've already talked about, we were going to do these things, and I wanted to get your ideas. Well, we've gotten your ideas. I'm still waiting on one person to come by that's a local guy here that's really, really sharp and does a lot of the very new body techniques as well. I'm going to get his advice before I finally proceed, but what I wanted to talk about today is actually setup. Because honestly, before you weld anything in a car, you're going to be needing to set everything up. So no matter what I do, I'm going to have to set everything up. And I wanted to go in, I always test fit everything before I install. No matter what I'm putting in, I don't care, I test fit it and make sure it's going to work, and then I'll go in and do the final install, especially when I'm talking about sheet metal and things like that, because I am such a sucky welder. Now, on this panel, the problem that we do have is that the panel is actually sitting down at the front. What I'm showing you is some video that we shot last time on the Ranchero, and you guys noticed when we did that video that there was a bigger gap on one end than at the other, and that was going to be a problem. Yes, obviously it is. Well, what am I going to do about that? Well, honestly, I'm going to employ my little floor jack that I have here, and I'm going to jack this up with a piece of wood under it like I'm showing you now. And I'm going to get slower and toward to the top, and then I'm just going to push that thing until it mates up. And we're about right there. And that's all you need to do, And then I've got these fasteners. Somebody said that we should use Clecos on this. I think Clecos are a great idea. I'm showing you what a Cleco looks like right now. And basically you use them, you put a hole on either side of the panel in order to put a backer behind it to hold it in place. Great plan, but I'm probably going to do just like Kevin said and butt weld, and we're going to go from the inside. Now that I've got this all set up, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take my drill motor here, and I'm going to go in and actually clean off this using a wire wheel. I'm not going to go in and sand it if I can keep away from it, because that's just going to reduce my metal thickness. This will at least probably, hopefully, just take the paint off the panel. And yes, it's going to take ages. Now the reason I'm going to clean this thing both inside and out is when you're welding, that will get hot and the paint and material that's on here, rust and everything, can contaminate a weld. So we want to make sure this surface is as absolutely clean as we can possibly get it. And of course, as always when we're doing an episode, the battery on my drill motor has quit. So I gotta go get another one. Actually, I'll probably just send Andrew because I'm in the truck right now and my leg hurts and I don't want to get out. Andrew! Battery me. Please. All right, back to the grind. Little tip on these wire wheels like this one. If you're having a problem with it not really taking enough material off, reverse the wheel on your drill motor. Go the other direction. It'll start taking material off better. Then you have to go back the other way because it's doing the same thing. Now another thing that you can do in a case like this is if you really wanted to take the time to do it, you can get some aircraft stripper, go in and strip this entire panel down, Oddly enough, even with the aircraft stripper, after I did that, I would still go in and actually use a wire wheel or something to take this metal and clean it off. Then go in after that with a pre-cleaner and clean it off again, just to make sure that you've got a nice clean surface to weld to. I would also not put these this far apart. I would probably, in order to have the panel hold into position, I would probably leave my jack in here and then go in and start doing my welding. But I would have another one of these that I would put, say, right here, and weld in a section across here doing the planishing like we did in the video that we did with Robert McCartney. You can look at that video at the link below me, the name below me here, and it's also in the description below where we keep all of our, how to get in contact with me and all that. So check it out down there. Because this is going to take me a minute. I am not going to bore you with all of this. I'm just going to finish this up. And then, like I said, I'm going to wait for my friend Larry to come by and take a look at this and tell me if I still could possibly get away with my idea of using panel bonding adhesive on about 80% of it. Now here's something to mention. If you were going to do panel bonding adhesive and the weld combination like I talked about, what I would recommend doing then is going in and then indeed aircraft stripping this entire section back in here, cleaning it up really well, and on both sides, then do your panel bonding adhesive and all that, because I would be worried about the lacquer thinner or whatever it is in the aircraft stripper getting into these seams if you put the panel bonding adhesive on there first. But if you're doing, let's say, a weld technique like we're probably going to end up doing, you really don't have to worry about all that because there's going to be weld there. The aircraft stripper is not going to get down inside of it because there's nothing to get inside of, at least theoretically. All right, so we've shown you what we're going to be doing with grinding the back and the front of the panel. I'm going to stop that for a few minutes here because I'm hoping that maybe in the next week or so Logan can get out here and do this. This is not going to be a fast process. We're right in the middle of our setting up for our open house we're going to be having on April 23rd of 2022. So we're kind of up against the wall on that. We're doing a lot of things around here, and so we are very, very busy on other fronts. But I wanted to kind of go over this because I wanted to see what you guys thought about the process I'm going to be doing here. What we are not going to be doing is making this area an opening, like I've seen some guys talk about doing, where you make the actual well opening here come up and basically make this a completely open area with the wall back in there. While I think that's a really good idea, I see some things for Logan's use of this vehicle as that being problematic because he is looking at opening up his own business as soon as he graduates, going to school for business and all that, but he's going to open up his own little business. So what he wants to do, I don't think that this is going to be a thing that he needs. He will need the bed area of this much more than he will need this opening and closing like we were going to do. And there's a couple of different ways you can do that. You can have it open from the back, from the front to the back. This way, you can have it open up from the back to the front this way. I've heard of guys using, oddly enough, MG midget hood hinges for it. They say that that works really well to do that. A couple of the guys I've talked to that are Ranchero guys. I'm not going to do that. I think I'm going to do something a little different. I'm going to go more toward the mid-60s. When Ford was doing the Ranchero from like 1966 on, they actually went with a well system in the truck so that there was an opening underneath on either side of the bed that you could put stuff in from inside, and that would keep it much more dry. I'm probably also going to go in and maybe weld most all of this in, all of the plate system except for the area right over where the shock absorbers go back here, so that you can just take that little plate section out to work on the shocks if need be. And I'll make that so that it's air and water tight so that you don't get a lot of water cascade inside of the vehicle. The problem I see with a lot of these trucks, especially these Rancheros, is a lot of this crap up here on the front will rust out. You can see that we've got a rust spot right here that's coming through, and there are a bunch of them on that piece. That piece is actually going to have to be remanufactured by me, and the bad thing about this piece is areas like this are actually dropped, and it's an L piece with a drop here. Now I can make that work and make that happen, but my gosh, it's going to be such a pain in order to do that. What I'm really thinking about doing is just welding all of this in so that we are flush against here, because this is a gap. I love Ford. This is a gap that they probably put sealer in and just said to heck with it. And they put sealer around here, and then of course, after 5 or 6 years of this thing doing the Flexi Flyer deal, because let's face it, it doesn't have the same strength as a sedan would because of this big opening back here, that's going to crack, break loose, and you're going to start getting water intrusion inside of the vehicle, and that's why Ranchero floor pans typically are trashed. Now, what I'm going to do too is this plate that is right here, I'm probably just going to take it out. But I'm not going to take it out and leave a big gaping maw back here with just a plate welded in, because I can guarantee what's going to happen. This will become an oil can area. There will be bracing that goes from this wall here to the floor on the transmission tunnel. There will be a piece that comes back here to the center of the shock mounting bump there. And then I'll have some fairly thick sheet steel that goes down between those two and is welded both to the floor and also to the box tube I'm going to be using for that. The other thing is, on these outside areas over here, I'm going to probably put something back here. I'll probably put a plate back here that runs all the way across the back, is welded to the floor and also welded to the wheel wells. And then I will also be plating around, like these two pieces here are fairly loose at the top. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put box tube that goes all the way back to here and all the way to the front of this in the wall. I'll put holes in here, and then I will clamp them together and spot weld that in so this becomes a little more rigid compared to what it is right now. And then there will also be box tubing up here where the deck plate sits all the way around the outside perimeter, and I will probably not sheet metal it, but I will weld up these declivities here in the bed. I'm going to make these so this is all solid and nice and neat. There'll also be box tube underneath here on this side and a piece of box tube on the other side that will be welded to the side walls. So there's going to be a box tube that goes from here to the floor, all the way across the floor, up onto the tunnel probably, and over and all the way down over there. And then that will all stabilize everything in here pretty well. It's going to be a little more stable, I think, than it was originally. It's probably not going to be as stable as it could be. This is not going to be a hot rod truck, Logan. So it will have a little bit of Flexi Flyer to it, but I may, in order to keep that from being as big of an issue, go in and actually put subframe connectors on this, and you guys will be able to see that being done on the show. And I may even do some perimeter framing work too, because there's some things that guys don't realize on these Falcons that really needs to be kind of touched on when you have a car that's not a V8. So we'll be hitting that down the road as well to do some strengthening on this chassis. But now what I'm going to do is I'm going to move over to what's going on inside of the Ranchero, because whenever you do all these cool things back here, guess what? you have to go in and find a place to put your spare tire. And the original spot's not going to work. So let's go ahead and talk about that. Okay, now I'm going to talk a little bit about spare tires, because that's going to be a problem on Logan's car, because quite frankly we don't have a good spot. Where the tire normally would sit is on the driver's side, right behind the driver's seat. And because Ford didn't have a mechanic's well, or whatever you want to call it, or the wells on either side of the tunnel, you didn't have to worry about it. But now you're going to need access to both sides of this so we can get in here and do things he needs to do. So what we're going to do is we're going to be using a Space Saver spare tire off of a mid-80s to early 90s Aerostar. I'm not sure what the end of production for Aerostars was, but what you're looking for if you go to the pull-aparts is the Aerostar Space Saver tire and wheel package, kind of like what we've got here. Obviously, we're going to get a new Space Saver tire for it, and we're going to also clean that rim up and make it look a little bit better. I don't know that this is a rim that you can put anything on, but it is a rim that we're using because I do know it is already a Space Saver tire and rim package that I got out of pull apart, I don't know, 15 years ago, because I was going to do something with it. Finally doing something with it. What I was talking about with bracing too is we will be bracing the back wall back here behind the tire all the way across to, again, strengthen that area up and make it a little bit better and stronger. With Logan, I know that this will become a water bottle receptacle, so we are going to go in and POR 15 everything inside of this once we get to that point. We've still got a little bit of welding left to do. Excuse me, I misspoke. Logan has a little bit of welding left to do on here. What I want you to do though is to go out and check out the Patreon account. At the $10 a month level, you get monthly meetings with me on Zoom. It's a lot of fun. We get together, we have several people in on the meetings usually. Now the people going up beside me here, Andrew says that's okay. These are the folks that put their money where their mouth is, and they do a financial support of us to help the children. Don't you want to help the children? Andrew's like what, 22 now, 23? He's been with us now since he was 15, and he is now a part-time employee around here, and the only way I can afford to pay Andrew with this is through Patreon. So the Patreon guys are footing the bill to have Andrew on board, and also for us to be able to have cookies and beer and pizza. There's no beer, like maybe root beer, but that's it. For the kids on Saturday that come in. Now we work with youth and teens, teaching them how to operate cameras, how to set up a shoot, how to do all the things that are involved with video production, because let's face it, it is a viable way to make a living if you get into the right stuff. This gives them a light introduction into it, and so they can take that and move on from there into film school or whatever and see whether this is what they really want to do, because boy howdy, there are times when we're working and they're not, and they are bored. Luckily they have mobile phones. Also on the Patreon group, we have monthly meetings for you guys. You can come out and see me and talk to me every month. We do tech Q&A on that as well. This month we're not going to have a normal meeting. I'm hoping to have a light meeting with people who could not make it to the event that we're having on April 23rd, 2022. We're going to be having our open house here on that date from 2 to 5, and so we're going to hopefully be able to have a little meeting with the guys on that. We also do videos for you guys as well. If you're on Patreon, you get your own videos that are not seen by anybody else. These are strictly done for our patrons. So keep an eye on that as well. Also, subscribe to the channel. If you subscribe to the channel, you're helping us to achieve our 100,000 subscriber mark. We are so close to 90,000 subscribers, it's just making me check it every 20 or 30 minutes, which is not good. It's kind of like when you're fat and you get on the scales every day and you're not totally losing weight. If I would just wait till the end of the week and check it, it looks more impressive. But I go in there and it's like 1 subscriber. YouTube, leave me alone. Let me have my fun. Don't take any subscribers off the boards until after we get to like 110,000, okay? Just, you can do what you want after 100,000. That's all I ask. So leave me alone for right now. That's all I want. 100,000 subscribers, we get the plaque to put on the wall. I'll probably have to buy it now. I don't know why it is that when you do this kind of stuff, it seems like they're always moving that bar for me. Like, you know, this was this, and then was this, now it's this. So hopefully we don't get the bar moved on us. We're gonna get the plaque. We're going to have a place over on the other side of the studio that's going to be the Paul wall, which is a 4x8 sheet of OSB in honor of our Ridgemont location that our viewer Paul absolutely hated the walls in. So that's been put up for him, but he also sent in his own special piece of OSB where the plaque will go. The plaque's going to be on his little piece of OSB on the full-size Paul wall. Gonna like it. I'm not kidding. So that's that then. Now, what I'd like for you guys to do is be kind to each other, love on each other, treat each other nice, and you come back next week and we'll see you on down the road. So, for right now, honestly, what's going to happen is we're going to back off of this thing for about 2 weeks. There will be a Manic Mechanic coming out after our open house that will probably be one where I do a talking head piece about some things. But for right now, I am on fire enlisting, trying to get all this stuff. That's a Navy thing that I read somewhere about the Aaron Ward kamikaze. Anyway, you don't care, I know. Maybe you do. Maybe you're a history buff like me and you want to know about the Aaron Ward. Go look it up, it's pretty interesting. So, basically we're going to be holding off a little bit until we get that stuff done with the welding and all that, because this is going to be a very involved process, trust me. So I am just going to now take this, turn the lights off, and walk. Well, I'm not going to turn the lights off technically, because there's still a lot to do. It looks kind of done to you guys, but if Andrew swings the camera around, go ahead and swing the camera around, Andrew, slowly. That looks pretty good. That looks pretty good. That looks pretty good. That looks pretty good. It starts to get a little sketchy now. Oh, lift. I'm looking at it from the monitor over here. It looks pretty bad. His tripod looks like a Labrador Retriever wrapped in his leash. Anyway, you guys have a great week. We'll see you later.